Alright, so we've gone ahead and installed Server01, and before I go too much further, I need to start the domain controller. And then I'll log into the domain controller. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and log on as the Contoso administrator.
Went to the bathroom last. Ella?
Okay, so I have the domain controller up and running. I'm going to pull up the Server01 and we're going to go ahead and format it. So we're going to click on the little button here to pull up the control alt delete, and $, W0RD. And minimize my Hyper-V. And again, I know it's Server01 because it says Server01. And I'm going to right click onto the adapter. And we're going to go ahead and assign the IP address. And then we'll go ahead and click on OK. Close. Close. Okay, so we've created or added a static IP address to the network adapter. If we click on local server, give it a minute, and we'll see that that IP address is there. Alright, and we're going to go over to time zone and again fix the time, change, I'm on Eastern, and it is 4:59, and okay. Alright, now we're going to go up to the computer name. Alright, now this is why we have to have the domain controller up and running. And if I pull up my Hyper-V, you can see that they are both running. There's my domain controller, there's Server01. We're currently working on Server01. So when I click on computer name, we're going to click on change, and we're going to type in Server01. Now here's where we're going to assign the domain for the Contoso. Alright, now if this is properly connected, we should get a prompt to sign in, and there it is. Yes! Okay, so we're going to put in our administrator and password. Wait for it to finish connecting. And then we're going to go ahead and do OK, and then OK again. Yeah, it's going to make us restart. That's fine. Close. I'm not going to restart. I'm actually going to shut down because we have to assign, we're going to assign one of the private switches. So I'm going to close out of this, close out of this. And I'm going to right click and shut down. In order to assign an adapter, a network adapter, make any major changes, we have to do this while it's in a shutdown mode. So I'm going to do shutdown, just continue, minimize this, and I'm going to pull up my Hyper-V. Alright, so as soon as the server 1 says shut down, there it goes, it's off. We're going to go into settings and we're going to add another adapter. So from here, actually I'm going to click on add hardware, network adapter, add Contoso private, that's the private one. So that's the private switch. And then we're going to click on apply and then OK. So now server 1 has two switches. It has the internal switch and it has the private switch. So there's the private, there's the internal. And if we click on the domain controller, we'll see that just the internal has been applied to that one. Now, when we set up the server 2, it's going to be really similar to server 1, and it's eventually going to have the two switches assigned. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and add our second server. So left click, right click, new virtual machine. And this one's going to be called Server02. Next, next, 204 apes. $2048, and then server 2 is going to be 40 gig. So I'm going to connect it with the internal. Next, change this to 40. Next, install, use ISO, browse, open, next, finish. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and start server 2 and install it. I'm going to turn off the video and I'm going to turn the video back on. I'm going to resume the video after the server has completed installing and I'm back at the sign-on screen. Okay, so we have server 2 installed. I'll go ahead and access the sign-in screen. And we're going to follow a similar process to what we did to server 1. We're going to go into the network adapter and apply the IP address and the DNS server, and then go into the local 1 server on the server manager and change the name and connect it to the contoso.com domain. Right click, open. I'll minimize this. Again, I'm on server 2. Change adapter settings. Now it's already been applied to Contoso, but that's because it's a dynamic IP address. We need to make it static because these are considered servers. And you don't want servers to have dynamic or changing IP addresses. Alright, IPv4, properties, Okay, now the IP address is 192.168.1.70 tab, accept the default subnet mask, and the DNS server is going to be the 192.168.1.50. And then we'll go ahead and do OK. Close, close, close out of that, close out of that. Go back into our server manager. Okay, and we're going to click on, my keyboard just stopped working again. I don't know why my keyboard stops working every so often. Alright, let's try full screen mode and see if I can do it that way. Nope. Alright, so I rebooted my Server02 and now everything seems to be working okay. I can get, my mouse seems to be recognized. Alright, so I've already double checked to make sure my IP address has been entered. We're just going to go over here to adjust our time zone, Eastern, and then OK, and then OK. Now again, we're going to change the computer name to Server02, but we're going to connect it to the domain of contoso.com. So if all went well, we should get the sign on, and we did. It should say welcome to Contoso. Oops. Alright, I probably mistyped the password. Okay, we've got welcome to contoso.com domain. That's good. Click on OK, click on OK, and close. I'm going to do restart later. So I actually don't want it to restart. I want it to shut down because, like server 1, I want to shut down. I want to add the second switch, the private switch. So I'll wait till that says off. Okay, and I'll go into settings. And there's the Contoso internal switch. I'm going to do add hardware, network adapter, add Contoso private, apply, and then OK. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and install Storage01. Again, very similar to adding Server 1 and Server 2. I'm going to leave the domain controller running and I'm going to leave these two off. I don't need these on to add the storage, so I'll leave them off for now. So new virtual machine, Storage01, next. Next, 2048. We'll go ahead and click dynamic, and next, and according to the lab instructions, it doesn't connect to a network adapter. So I'm going to go ahead and connect it to an internal switch. This is one of those things, again, where the instructions really aren't clear in the lab or in the book. So we're going to go ahead and assign the internal switch. Next, make this 80. And next, install ISO. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and let this install. I'm going to double click it and go ahead and install it, and then I'm going to turn off the video and then resume the video once we are able to log into Storage01. Action start. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and go through with the rest of the install, and then we'll pick up the video once it's been installed and we go to configure the server. Okay, so we've installed Storage01, and let's go ahead and log in. Now you could set, if we set this up to automatically log in, not having to enter in a password, we will have difficulties in some of the other labs. So it forces us to have to keep the sign-in manual each time. So it kind of slows us down a little bit. But I wanted to put that out there for those of you who are saying, well, let me just speed this up by making sign-in automatic. It's just going to slow down or cause errors in other places. So like Server 1 and Server 2, the first thing we're going to do is create a static IP. So So I just right clicked on the network adapter, click on change adapter settings, double click, properties, IPv4, properties, and then close. Okay, and my keyboard or mouse have stopped working, so I'm going to restart this again. I don't know why it's doing this, but for some reason once I restart everything seems to work okay. We have rebooted and we are back to the server manager. I'm going to click on local server. Again, the first thing I'm going to do is change the time. And we're going to go and change the computer name to actually, I put in the wrong IP address. Let me fix that first. Because this was Server01. So if I click on here, it's going to take me to the same place. Properties. This should be 1.80. .92, 168, 1.50. Okay, close, close, close. Okay, now we can change the name. Change, and this is going to be Storage01. And assign it to the domain of contoso.com. Just wait for it to finish connecting. And then once we get the connection and the approvals, we'll have to go ahead and restart it. I'll go ahead and do restart now. Alright, now once it restarts, we're going to figure the SCSI services and target server. Alright, so for it to boot up. Okay, so we're back on Storage01. We're sign on as administrator. And we'll allow the server manager to come up, and we're going to go right into manage and add roles. Okay, manage, add roles, and next, next, next. Now what we're going to add is a feature and not a role. Click on next. And we're going to go down to File and Storage Services. Or did I miss it? Nope. It is a role. Okay, so we expand File and Storage Services. And then expand the File and SCSI Services. And we're going to select these two options right here, add feature, and then click on next. And next, and install. Once this is done installing, it's going to reboot. Once it reboots, we're going to log back into Storage01 and then go into the File and Storage Services. Going to go into Tools and then select the File and Storage Services. So I'm going to close the or pause the video for now, and we'll pause the video for now, and we'll pick back up once this is finished installing and we've rebooted. Okay, so we've rebooted, and I'm back on the server manager for Storage01. Now we're going to go into Tools, and we're going to click on File and Storage Services. Here. under the SCSI.
Nana, what's this?
Okay, now we're going to go ahead and create. And then next. And this first one is called shared disk. Gig. And next. And it's going to be sign. Okay, so this is going to be a new SCSI target, so next. And it's going to be called cluster servers. And then next.
Huh?
And then add. And then I'm going to enter a value. And change this to IP address. And we're going to enter the IP address. 192.168.1.60. Click OK. Then we're going to enter a value for the selected type. Maybe add. Okay, we're going to enter a value. Again, IP address. .192.168.1.70. We'll go ahead and do OK. And then next, and create. Let's go ahead and run. And we have several of these that we have to create. So I'm just gonna go ahead and create them. I'm gonna turn off sound for a little bit while I do it because it's pretty repetitive. matter, Pumpkin?
Ugh.
No. No. Stop. Okay, so we have all of our cluster servers storage created. And now what we're going to do is we're actually going to shut down Storage01. For Storage1, and go into Settings, and then click on the SCSI controller. Now this is where we're going to link them, what we just created. Now we're going to create the adapter for it. And add. Okay, there's our controller. Okay, and we want to do virtual hard disk, and new, and next. On the choose disk format page, click on next. We want it to be fixed, and then next. And then we can specify the name, which is going to be SCSI disk 1. And next, the size is going to be 5. And then next, and finish. And then we're going to go ahead and select our SCSI controller again. Again, do add, and new, and next, fixed, and next, SCSI disk 2, next, 5, next, finish. Alright, we're going to go ahead and do a third. So we're going to select the controller again, add, new, next, next, fixed, next, SCSI, disk 3, next, this one's going to be 5, and next, and finish. While that's doing that, I need to start up Server01 and Server02. File, action, start. Server2, action, start. Hyper-V. Okay, and we'll go ahead and do OK. Alright, so I'm going to put Server2 over here and Server01 over here because we're basically going to do the same thing to both. Okay, I've signed on to both Server01 and Server02. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn off sound because I'm going to do basically the same thing on both, and it's pretty self-explanatory. We're going to go into the command prompt, the administrator command prompt on both, and enter in a command, and I'll show that on the screen. I may even put it on Notepad just to make sure it's large enough to see. This is going to be the command we're going to do on both. You'll notice that there's a space here, your slash online space slash enable dash feature space slash feature name colon Microsoft dash hyper dash V. So it came up with, do you want to restart the computer? And we want to do Y to go ahead and restart.
Daddy.
Where's Daddy? Dada. Just waiting for both of these to finish rebooting, and I'll resume the video as soon as I've logged back into both. Alright, I've rebooted both Server 1 and Server 2. And we are in Server Manager. We're going to click on Manage. Alright, so let's see. We're going to go into, wait for it to finish doing its thing. Manage. Still thinking. Add roles. And next. And we want to click on Remote Server Administration, which I think is actually under Features. Remote Server Administration, we're going to go ahead and expand that. And then expand Role Administration Tools. And then select Hyper-V Management right here, and then next, and then install. And then we're going to do the same thing to Server 2, so I'll go ahead and open it up. Manage. Add roles, and next, 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 Remote Server Administration, expand, Role Administration Tools, and select Hyper-V, and next, and install. Now, once both of these things have been installed, we're going to go ahead and reboot, and that is the end of the lab setup. So I'm going to conclude the video here, so I've been trying to keep them under an hour, and the next video is going to start on lab 1, which is configuring network load balancing.